Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back to the Self Care at Work Live. It is Wednesday, July the 23rd. Can you believe it? Wednesday, July 23rd. We are zooming through this month. And it is 6:30 in the morning. And every Wednesday, at 6:30 in the morning, I go live on YouTube to talk about self-care at work because I believe that if we go in with the intention of taking care of ourselves, not just at home in the morning, not just at home in the afternoon, but actually at work when we need it the most. So that is why I come live on Wednesday at 6:30 in the morning. And I want to welcome you back and let you know if you don't already know. And if you do know, I want to remind you that this is a safe space. It's a safe space for practical ways to protect your peace and thrive in today's workplace. I'm Belinda Harris, and we are going to dive into something that we're all struggling with, even me, and that is digital download overload. That's a mouthful. That is what we're going to talk about today. And I want to start with asking you this question. How many tabs on your computer do you have open on any given day? If you were to sign into your work computer right now, how many tabs you already have open? Like how many? And here's another one. How many notifications do you get before even your first cup of coffee? Like how many notifications come in before I always be like, before I even sit in the seat good, how many notifications do you have coming in? You see, digital fatigue is real. And it's not just about your eyes, because a lot of people think it's your eyes, you got to rest your eyes, which is true. But it's not just about your eyes. It's about your energy, your focus, and your sanity. Digital fatigue is not just about your eyes. It's your energy, your focus, and your sanity. And on average, workers check their email every 6 minutes. And unfortunately, I too am guilty of that. Constantly checking emails because you don't want to miss nothing. In the midst of that, constantly get interrupted by Slack or GroupMe or Teams messages or text messages, pop-ups and bings, all while trying to focus on our actual work. And no wonder we're exhausted. Think about it. You're focused. You got this, and this to do that you have determined this is what I'm getting done today. And you're focused on it. Meanwhile, all of these interruptions, all of these notifications, all of these text messages, all of these pings and pongs and pop-ups are constantly coming in. And you're wondering, why am I so exhausted at the end of the day? That's why. That's why you're so exhausted at the end of the day. Because you make me think, I work from a desk. It's not like I'm not outside in the heat. Why am I so exhausted at the end of the day? Well, now you know. And let me break down how you're going to manage your digital distractions and take back your peace, one notification at a time. And I'm going to talk about 5 tips that you can implement today when you get to work, that you can start implementing today. And tip number 1 is turn off non-essential notifications. Now, there are some that we can't turn off. I have responsibilities. People, depend on me. I waiting on a call. You can't just turn everything off. I know that. That's not the real world. But you can turn off non-essential notifications because every ping isn't urgent. Think about it. Every text message you get is not always urgent. Most times it's not. Not every ping, not every somebody has a question is urgent. And if you audit your notifications, things like do you really need Instagram alerts during work hours? Back in COVID, when everybody and their mama was on Instagram and going live constantly, somehow I had my notifications that when people went live, it'll pop up on my phone. I quickly learned how to turn it off because I was like, who cares? Because it was like constant notifications. So I learned quickly to turn that off. But do you really need that, an alert during work hours? You can set your phone to do not disturb to block off times for deep work. Because if it's urgent, if someone's really trying to reach you, they'll call you. They'll call you. Digital boundaries equal mental clarity. They really do. Tip number 2 is schedule your screen time, right? Schedule your screen time instead of always being on, because some of us feel like I have to be on. I am guilty of that at times myself. I have to be ready. Somebody may need. I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of reminding myself every day, all day, you don't have to be on, Belinda. I have to remind myself of that. How do you schedule your screen time, which is tip number 2? You do that by maybe checking your emails, brace yourself, 3 times a day, morning, midday, and end of the day. Some people are like, not possible. Maybe it is, and you just haven't tried it. Check your emails in the morning when you get there, midday, and at the end of the day. You can batch your responses to messages. So, for example, you can say at 10 o'clock, I'm going to respond to all the messages that came in. I do that. I set a timer though, because it can just get carried away. And it forces me to keep moving through the messages instead of just lay on, be like, well, it forces me to keep going because I have so many messages to get through. But I batch them. So you're responding to all your text messages or you're responding to all your emails at this set window. Use time blocking so that you're not toggling all day back and forth. It's hard to get something done, to get through a project or a task that you're trying to do, and you're constantly multitasking other ways. Multitasking is not the key. A lot of people think it is. I'm a great multitasker. Then you're not great at getting a whole lot done. That's how I interpret it now. I used to be a great multitasker and can still be. And then it takes you 2 weeks, which could have been done in 2 hours, because you've multitasked all these other different things instead of saying, let me get this done. I focus on let me get this done. And I get more done than multitasking, trying to do 10 different things in one setting. So use time blocking to say, I'm going to work on this project for an hour or 30 minutes or whatever before going on to the next. You focus that. You put it on your calendar. You turn off your non-essential notifications. You let people know, you set up the boundaries. This is what I'm working on. That is self-care at work. Tip number 3 is you follow the 20-20-20 rule. But screen fatigue is a real thing. That is real. Screen fatigue. You hear that all the time. You look at your computer screen. You're looking at your phone screen. Maybe after work, you're looking at your tablet screen or your TV screen. Screens all day long. But at work, you can do this at home too, obviously. But at work, try the 20-20-20 rule, which is every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. So every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. It gives your eyes and your brain a mini vacation. Staring at the screens all day long is not it. You must give your eyes some protection. You must. And you do that by, you can follow the 20-20-20 rule. And that is not what I consider a mini break, which I talk about that, which is, I'm going to talk about that next. But that is not what I consider your mini break. Every 20 seconds, looking 20 feet away for every 20 minutes, looking 20 feet away for 20 seconds. I don't consider that a mini break. It should just be part of your day. I've stared at this computer for 20 minutes. Now it's time. Let me look off at something else. And looking off doesn't mean look at your phone. Look away. Look away, 20 feet away. Tip number 4 is replace scrolls with micro breaks. See, scrolling through TikTok isn't a break. It's more screen time. Belinda, scrolling through TikTok or Instagram isn't a break. It's more screen time. Instead, here's where those micro breaks come in. Here's what I talk about almost every live is a micro break. Instead of scrolling, doom scrolling at that, try a stretch, a walk, a hydration break, or take a few deep breaths with, hey, my calming soundscape. You can put that on. Actually do that. That's a mini break. Scrolling on your phone is not a break. And if you do stretch or walk or take a hydration break or do a few deep breaths with a calming soundscape, you'll return more refreshed than if you fell into a doom scrolling loop. Because you can take 10 minutes and then scroll as you may think your mini break, return back to work and be like, okay, I took my break, and still feel exhausted or still feel I didn't get a break. But if you take your mini break and go for a walk, look out the window, do some stretches, drink some water, take some deep breaths, you will come back to work, back to time to get back to work, more refreshed. Try that. Try that today. Try that today and see how that works for you. Tip number 5 is to declutter your digital space. A cluttered desktop or inbox is like a cluttered mind. If your inbox is all over the place, if your desktop, you ever glance at somebody's desktop and you see files on top of files, and you're just like, how in the world do they get anything done? How can they find anything on their desktop screen? Right? A cluttered desktop or inbox is like a cluttered mind. Set aside 10 minutes a week, not even every day, 10 minutes a week to clean it up. Delete old files, archive messages, close unused tabs. Digital peace creates mental peace. I practice this on Fridays. That's how I close out my week, to declutter my desktop, because I too have folders on my desktop during the week, or a file here or something there. But at the end of the week on Fridays, it's part of my ritual to close out for the week. I take about 15 minutes, but I'm saying set aside 10, and I go through the desktop and clean it up, get rid of, place things where it's supposed to go. That's how I end my work week. I do that every Friday so that when I come back on Mondays, it's a clean slate and ready to go. Some people may think, well, I can do it Monday. Then you're starting your day in chaos. You're starting your week in chaos. If you end it, close it out. That way, when you start the following week, you're good to go. Now, you can do it every day if that's what you choose to. I personally do mine every week. But every day would even be better. You deserve to work in a way that doesn't drain you. A digital detox at work doesn't mean no tech. Let me say that again. A digital detox at work doesn't mean no tech. It means intentional tech. You're still doing your job, but now you're doing it with your peace intact. If this video helped you, I would appreciate if you give it a like, if you comment, share it with a coworker, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate that. I'm a small channel trying to grow to 10,000 subscribers. So I would appreciate if you subscribe to the channel. Every week, I go live on YouTube to talk about self-care at work live every week. Next week, I hope to see you here. If not, I hope you're watching it on replay. You deserve peace. You deserve self-care at work because your wellness matters. I'll see you at the next video.